The scent of smoky barbecue mingled with the crisp autumn air and a faint hint of pine from the nearby woods. October in Cheltenham was nothing short of perfect. 65 degrees, a gentle breeze rustling the golden leaves. It was the kind of Saturday afternoon that made you forget about the chaos of the world. I was by the picnic tables at Pittville Park, manning a portable grill, flipping sausages and burgers while debating with my mate, James, whether Cheltenham Town could actually make it into the playoffs. I held a can of London Pride, watching the crowd of friends who'd gathered for our usual monthly get-together. Lately, though, I found myself more preoccupied with calculating which topics might set Emma off than just enjoying the day. Emma, my wife, stood a little way off with 3 other women, laughing loudly at something I couldn't hear. For a fleeting moment, she looked like the woman I married nearly 3 years ago. Then her voice rose, sharp and cutting through the hum of chatter. "My husband thinks he can tell me what to do," she snapped. Heads turned. James caught my eye, his expression sympathetic. I'd heard this song and dance for months. The pattern was always the same. I'd make a reasonable suggestion. She'd escalate immediately. Then came the threat. Maybe I should just do whatever I want. It had started back in April. I'd asked if she could check with me before dropping $300 on clothes. Her reply, "Maybe I should just do whatever I want then. It's my money." A few weeks later, I mentioned it'd be nice if she'd text to say she'd be late. Same response. "I should just do what I want. You're not my dad." October 3rd. Every time I tried to talk, the same phrase hit me like clockwork. I glanced at my watch. 5:45 p.m. We had dinner booked at 7 on. I walked over to where Emma was standing with her friends. "Hey, we should probably head out soon. Dinner reservation at 7. She turned, head held high, a sly smile playing on her lips. "We don't need to leave yet. I'm having fun." We made the reservation. It takes 30 minutes to get there. "Then cancel it," she shot back. "I'm having fun here. I'd rather not waste it. We've been here 3 hours. Her hands went to her hips, voice rising above the gathering. "You know what, David? Maybe I should just do whatever I want. You don't get to tell me when to leave or what to do." Complete silence fell over the group. Even the kids playing nearby stopped mid-chase. 20 people watched in stunned quiet. A few nervous chuckles rippled. One bloke muttered under his breath, "Blimey." I took a slow sip of my beer, a genuine smile spreading across my face. Not uncomfortable, actually amused. "You're absolutely right, Emma. You should do whatever you want." I paused, letting the words hang in the crisp air, starting with finding somewhere new to live. I set my beer down carefully on the picnic table. "Thanks for hosting, James. Great sausages, as always." I walked to the car park without looking back. Behind me, urgent whispers exploded. Emma's voice, sharp and pleading. "David, wait! What are you doing?" I didn't turn around, got in my old Volvo and drove away. The drive back to my flat in Cheltenham was quiet. No music, no podcasts, just the steady hum of the engine and my thoughts swirling like the autumn leaves outside. It took about 20 minutes, but it felt like I traveled 1,000 miles inside my head. When I pulled up outside our shared place, a modest 2-bedroom flat near the town center, I sat in the driver's seat a little longer than usual. My phone was buzzing like mad in the passenger seat. 14 missed calls, 27 texts. I glanced at the screen, expecting apologies or explanations, maybe a "let's talk, please" message. Instead, it was the usual chorus. Accusations that I'd overreacted, that I was being ridiculous, that everyone thought I'd lost it. Not one said sorry. Not one asked why I was upset. I turned the phone off and stepped inside. The flat felt different, like walking into someone else's home wearing your own shoes. Emma's things were everywhere. Cushions in shades of teal and coral I never liked, scented candles filling the air with lavender that made me sneeze, and her yoga mat permanently sprawled in the hallway like some territorial beast. I grabbed another can of London Pride, cracked it open, and headed out onto the small balcony overlooking the quiet street. From the next flat over, my neighbor, Paul, a retired fireman in his late 50s with a face weathered like old leather, looked over and gave me a nod. "You all right, mate? Heard the shouting earlier." I gave a faint smile. "Actually, Paul, I think things are about to get a lot better." He nodded knowingly. "Overheard a few of those arguments through the wall. Not my business, but good on you, son. Sometimes you've got to draw the line." We sat in companionable silence for a while. Paul's calm was a balm to my frayed nerves. Later that evening, I opened my laptop and started making a plan. I'm not much of a spreadsheet guy, but that night I created one titled Emma Situation. Every detail, every task laid out like a battlefield map. Change locks Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pack Emma's things Monday and Tuesday. Contact solicitor Tuesday afternoon. Document the pattern. Calculate separate versus shared belongings. Arrange storage unit. Notify close friends. I dug through my phone, pulling screenshots of every threat, every "maybe I should just do whatever I want" text. 47 in total, dating back to April. Emma hadn't come home. She was staying at her friend's place, waiting for me to grovel, to apologize, to beg her back. The usual. Paul popped his head over the balcony again, cigar in hand. "My ex left me about a decade ago," he said, lighting up. "Different story, but I remember that look you've got. When a bloke's had enough, he's had enough." He took a slow puff. 6 months of the same rubbish. "My missus used to threaten to leave every argument. One day I said, 'There's the door.' What happened? She left, came back 2 days later, thinking all was forgiven. Locks were changed. Best decision of my life." I laughed, the sound rusty after months of tension. "Thanks, Paul. Needed to hear that." As darkness settled over Cheltenham, I felt a calm settle inside me for the first time in months. No more walking on eggshells. No more biting my tongue. Just clarity. Monday morning dawned crisp and clear, with a pale sun casting soft light over the quiet Cheltenham streets. I woke naturally, no alarm, brewed coffee the way I liked it, in my classic stovetop espresso maker. Emma always mocked it as so middle-class hipster, but I didn't care. It was my little ritual now. At 6:30 my phone buzzed with a message. "I'm coming home this afternoon. We need to talk about your behavior on Saturday. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." No mention of her behavior, no hint of apology. Just blame. I didn't reply. At exactly 9, a locksmith van pulled up outside. The driver, Gary, was in his mid-40s, a big bloke with a calm face and steady hands. He started changing the locks on every door as I watched, feeling a strange mix of finality and relief. Gary glanced at the wedding photo on the hallway wall, a picture of Emma in a flowing floral dress, her hair perfectly curled, me in a smart shirt that I never actually wear anymore. He said nothing but gave me a knowing look. "She's been threatening to do whatever she wants for 6 months. I'm just helping her start fresh." "Let me guess," I said. "She's shocked you actually followed through." Gary chuckled. "Yeah, they all are. They think it's a bluff until it isn't." He recommended commercial-grade deadbolts. Took about 45 minutes to install them all. When he handed me 3 new sets of keys, he advised me to keep the spares for when you start over. I thanked him, but he refused a tip. "Doing the Lord's work here, mate. Good luck." Later, I headed to the nearby home base to stock up on packing supplies, boxes, bubble wrap, packing tape, black Sharpies for labeling everything clearly. I ran into James near the self-assembly furniture aisle. "Dude, Your phone's off? Emma called me 10 times yesterday. I'm done, James, I said flatly. I meant every word on Saturday. He gave me a look of stunned respect. She's telling everyone you lost your mind, that it was just one comment. Wasn't just one comment, I said. You remember Kat's birthday dinner 4 weeks ago? Same threat when I suggested splitting an Uber home. James nodded. Yeah, she's been escalating for months. Kat and I talked. It's not about Saturday. That was just the first time she said it in front of everyone. You've put up with a lot, mate. What can I do? Nothing, but I appreciate you for standing your ground. About time. Back home, I started packing Emma's things methodically. Her side of the wardrobe was a shrine to designer labels, silk blouses, tailored trousers, over 20 pairs of shoes, each carefully wrapped in tissue paper. I wasn't vindictive. This was about respect. I labeled every box: dresses, casual wear, shoes. Her jewelry box, a delicate satin-lined case, went into a padded container. Her makeup drawer was packed with the precision of a jeweler, and even her hair care products found their way into labeled boxes. On her bedside table, I spotted a stack of self-help books, titles like Boundaries, The Art of Saying No, and Radical Independence. I laughed quietly. She'd been studying for this moment without even realizing it. I packed the books with extra care, marking the box Self-Help, Boundaries, and Independence. By 2 p.m., I met with Richard Voss, a solicitor I'd found through a friend, at a small cafe overlooking the River Avon. Richard was in his early 50s, sharp-eyed, leather portfolio in hand. Walk me through the pattern, he said. I handed over my meticulously prepared documents, screenshots, timelines, witness statements. This is textbook emotional manipulation, Richard said after 20 minutes. Repeated threats form a clear pattern. Legally, it matters. It shows a rejection of marital responsibilities while enjoying the benefits. This will help with property division. We discussed the flat I'd bought before we married, her credit card debts, and the likely arguments from her side. She'll say you blindsided her, that you were controlling, but you have witnesses, documentation. You came prepared. Richard smiled. Papers can be ready by Wednesday, filed Thursday, served Friday. Perfect timing. One warning, she'll be angry. Don't engage. Forward everything to my office. I left feeling armed, ready, and strangely calm. The war was just beginning. By early evening, the flat had transformed into a makeshift warehouse. 23 boxes, all neatly labeled and stacked in the living room, like a fortress of finality. Each one a piece of Emma's life carefully packed away, no damage done, just distance created. I ordered a pizza from the Italian place on Gloucester Road and ate alone on the balcony, the cool air swirling around me as the sun dipped behind the rooftops. Paul appeared again, cigar in hand. Making progress, eh? Almost done. Got a storage unit booked at Cheltenham Self-Storage on Pittville Street. Can't have her things out here. Too much risk of rain or some daft kid nicking them. Paul nodded approvingly. You're being more fair than she deserves. It's not about fairness, I said, watching the last light fade. It's about being able to look myself in the mirror. My phone buzzed relentlessly from 8 p.m. Texts from Emma, each one more desperate than the last. I'm coming home tomorrow around noon. We need to talk. Then I think we both should apologize for Saturday. David, answer me. You're being childish. Finally, a terse, fine. I'll see you tomorrow. None of it got a reply. That night I slept better than I had in months. No anxiety, no bracing for the next storm. Tuesday morning I finished packing the last of her things by 11 a.m., 25 boxes in total, every item labeled with clinical precision. 2 trips later, the car was full, and I drove to the storage unit. Unit 312, climate-controlled, 10x10. I unloaded everything carefully, arranging boxes neatly against the walls, took photos for the record, locked it up, and kept both keys. One key would go to Emma through the solicitor. On the way home, I stopped at Waitrose and treated myself to a ribeye steak and a bottle of Rioja. It was the first indulgence I'd bought in months without second-guessing or worrying about triggering a fight. That evening, the flat felt different, more mine somehow. I went over my plan one last time. Locks changed, check. Belongings packed and stored, check. Solicitor retained, check. Documentation complete, check. Witnesses ready, check. I drafted a message to Emma but didn't send it. Your belongings are in storage unit 312 at Cheltenham Self-Storage, 45 Pittville Street. Paid through December 15th. Your key is available through my solicitor, Richard Voss, at 01242555147. Locks have been changed. Divorce papers will be served Friday. All future communication through attorneys. Later that night, the phone rang. Emma's mother, Margaret. David, what on earth is going on? Emma had told her I'd made a scene at the park and was now ignoring her. I explained the pattern, the threats, the dismissiveness, the emotional toll. Marriage is about working through problems, Margaret said. You can't just end things over one argument. It's not one argument, I said firmly. It's 6 months of threats. 47 times she said she'd do whatever she wanted, and I've documented every one. There was a long pause. You need to think about this. I smiled, a cold, steady smile. I have been thinking for 6 months, walking on eggshells. I'm done thinking. I hung up, blocked her number, and felt nothing but relief. I sat on my balcony Wednesday morning, pretending to read a newspaper but really watching the street below. At 11:47, Emma's silver Vauxhall pulled into the parking bay. She stepped out carrying an overnight bag, her shoulders slumped, eyes tired but still flickering with defiance. She walked up to the front door, fumbled with the key, tried again. She stared at it like it had betrayed her. Jiggled the handle, stepped back confused, glanced at the house number, tried once more, then circled around to the back. That's when she spotted me on the balcony. David, what the hell? She called up, voice sharp. My key isn't working. It wouldn't, I said calmly. I changed the locks Monday morning at 9 a.m. She froze mid-step, disbelief written across her face. You what? Changed the locks. Monday, 9 a.m. That's the truth. This is my home too. You can't do that. I leaned against the railing, watching her frustration boil over. It's my home. I bought it 2 years before we married. It's my property. She laughed nervously, trying to mask the sting. Very funny. You made your point. Now let me in so we can talk. There's nothing to talk about, I said flatly. You should do whatever you want, starting with finding somewhere new to live. She shook her head, disbelief turning to anger. Seriously, you're still on about that. It was just a comment. Just a comment, I echoed. Like on October 3rd when I mentioned the spending, or September 20th about coming home late. Want me to keep going? She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You've been keeping a list. 47 times, Emma. Since April. She sank into the patio chair, exhaustion and defeat mingling. Okay. Maybe I said those things, but I didn't mean them literally. It's what people say when they're frustrated. People who respect their partners don't repeatedly threaten to disregard them every time there's a disagreement. I never threatened anything. Repeatedly saying you'll just do whatever you want regardless of my input. That's a threat, she scoffed. You're blowing this out of proportion. Saturday was just about dinner plans. It's never just about dinner. It's about the pattern. Before she could respond, Paul appeared from his flat next door, cigar in hand. Sorry to barge in, but, Emma, your car's parked in the fire lane. No, it's in my spot. Your spot? David owns both spaces. Mentioned yesterday you wouldn't be needing it anymore. Emma's face paled. Property rights, Paul added. Need me to call a tow? Emma stood abruptly. This is harassment. Harassment? Young lady, you're dealing with a man who's had enough. I've heard every argument through this wall for 6 months. You've got a lot of nerve playing the victim. Paul retreated inside, leaving Emma sitting quietly, the fight draining from her eyes. Let's talk inside, like adults, she whispered. This is my home, I said firmly. It's the house I bought. I let you move in. That's the difference. Her lip quivered, tears welling. I can't believe you're doing this. We can fix this. Therapy, communication. I wanted respect, I said. A partner who didn't threaten to disregard our marriage every time I had an opinion. She looked away, silence filling the space between us. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the messages, each one a time-stamped reminder of what had been building beneath the surface. October 3rd, I said, reading aloud. I asked if we could talk about the spending. Your reply, stop being so uptight. I work hard for my money. Maybe I should just do whatever I want with it. Emma flinched, but stayed silent. September 15th, I continued. I asked for a heads-up when you'd be late. Your response? I'm an adult. I don't need to check in. Maybe I should just come and go as I please. She swallowed hard. August 27th. I said I wanted to discuss how we make decisions together because I felt my input didn't matter. You said, your input matters when it's reasonable. Otherwise, I'll just do what makes sense to me. She shook her head, voice trembling. You're cherry-picking. No, I'm reading them in order. Want me to keep going? Her eyes filled with tears. What do you want from me? An apology? I nodded, waiting. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean those things. You meant them every time, I said softly. You just didn't think I'd take you seriously. That's not true. I love you. I don't want a divorce. You loved having someone who tolerated being threatened, I said. That's not love. It's manipulation. She began to sob. Please let me get my things. Let me come inside. Your things are in storage, I said, sliding the card with the storage unit details across the table. Cheltenham Self-Storage, Unit 312, paid through December 15th. Your keys with my solicitor. She stared at the card as if it burned her fingers. You hired a solicitor? Yes, over 6 months of threats, not one fight. She stood abruptly. We'll see about this. I want half of everything. House, savings, everything. I raised an eyebrow. The house is separate property. I bought it before we married. Retirement accounts, too. We've been married less than 3 years. She scoffed. Community property acquired during marriage. You can't just keep it all. Sure, but the debt you racked up, about $12,000 on credit cards from doing whatever you wanted, that counts, too. We can split that. Her face twisted with anger. I'm getting a real solicitor. I'll take you for everything. Good. Have them call Richard Voss. Numbers on the card you haven't taken. She stormed to her car. You're going to regret this. I smiled. That's funny. That's your first threat I actually believe you'll follow through on. Usually they're empty. She froze, the weight of my words sinking in. You can't have it both ways. Either those threats were serious, which justifies my response, or they were empty, which means you emotionally abused me for 6 months. Which is it? She slammed the car door, tires squealing as she drove off. I went inside, texted Richard. She knows, reacting as expected, planning to hire a solicitor and take me for everything, Richard replied instantly. Let her try. Documentation makes this straightforward. Papers ready tomorrow. I sank onto the couch in the quiet flat. No tension, no fear. Just peace. Paul knocked on the shared wall, our silent sign. I went to the balcony. He handed me a beer. Hell of a day. That it was. She'll be back. I know. You ready? More ready than I've been in 6 months. 3 weeks later, on a crisp Saturday morning in mid-November, I found myself at the Green Room Cafe on Bath Road. It was the first time I'd been out socially since the fallout, a small step back into normal life. The place was buzzing, the rich aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the chatter of locals. The hostess greeted me. Just one? Yeah, meeting a friend. I'll wait at the bar. James arrived shortly after, and we settled in with steaming mugs. Conversation drifted to football, the kids' school play, and nothing heavy. For the first time in weeks, I felt normal. Then I spotted her. Emma sitting across the room with 3 women from her office. She hadn't seen me yet. Part of me wanted to leave, but I decided I had nothing to hide. Besides, there was no escaping the awkwardness now. James noticed her too. Is that Emma? I nodded. Want to bounce? No. We're here. She doesn't own the place. The hostess led us past Emma's table. Mid-sentence, Emma's eyes caught mine. She froze, her conversation halting mid-word. One of her friends followed her gaze, recognized me, and stiffened. I nodded politely. Emma turned and walked away, sitting at a booth with her back to us. Well, that wasn't awkward at all, James chuckled. It's fine, I said. Honestly, I feel nothing. No anger, no regret, just nothing. That's wild, mate. 3 weeks ago you were married. Now you're free. James grinned. Kat says Emma's been calling mutual friends, spinning her side of the story. Not going well. What do you mean? She told Jenny you were controlling and abusive. Jenny asked for examples. And? She said you monitored Emma's spending and where she went. Jenny asked if you actually stopped her from buying things or going places. Emma said no, but that I made her feel bad. Jenny said that sounds like normal relationship stuff. And Emma lost it, called Jenny brainwashed by the patriarchy. I laughed softly. Jenny's one of the most independent women I know. Emma's alienating everyone by exaggerating. If she'd said we'd grown apart, people might have sympathized, but painting me as the villain? The story didn't add up. I glanced back casually. Emma's friends looked uncomfortable. One kept checking her phone. Emma's hands gestured wildly. She was clearly complaining. James said, Yeah, that's her version. And they're not buying it. Our food arrived, and we moved on to safer topics. The tension lifted. Suddenly, a woman approached our table, late 20s, blonde, fit, carrying a takeaway coffee. David? Hi. I'm Sophie Matthews. We met briefly at Pittville Park a few weeks ago. I stood, a little surprised. Oh, yeah, I remember. I hope this isn't weird, but I wanted to say I think you handled everything really well. Thanks, that's kind of you. I've been in a relationship where someone used threats to manipulate me. Took me ages to leave. Watching you calmly walk away was inspiring. James smiled. I'm James, by the way, David's mate. Hi, James. Sorry to interrupt. No problem. Sophie hesitated. Can I give you my number? Maybe grab coffee sometime. No pressure. Sure, that'd be nice. We exchanged numbers. She smiled and left. James laughed. Mate, that's the 3rd woman interested in you in 3 weeks. You know that, right? 3rd? Yeah. Kat's friend Lauren asked about you last week, and a woman from my work happy hour asked if you're single. That's ridiculous. No, it's what happens when a bloke knows his worth. They've all seen their mates put up with rubbish from guys who can't commit. You're the opposite. Committed enough to try, strong enough to walk away. Across the room, Emma's table was breaking up. Her friends were leaving, and she sat alone, staring at her phone. Her face shifted, shock, anger, something like grief. She caught sight of Sophie talking to me, saw us laughing with James. Without a word, she threw money on the table and stormed out, passing right by us without a glance. James smirked. How's that feel? Not revenge, just natural consequences. I smiled, feeling a weight lift. Life was moving forward. January brought a chill to Cheltenham, the kind that seeps through coats and settles in your bones. I found myself sitting across a polished oak table in Richard's office, the solicitor's calm presence a stark contrast to the storm of emotions swirling just weeks before. Emma and her attorney sat opposite me. It was the first time I'd seen her since the cafe encounter. Thinner, wearier, her sharp eyes dulled beneath tired lids. Her solicitor spoke first. My client is willing to settle if the terms are reasonable. She requests $15,000 in spousal support. Richard didn't miss a beat. On what basis? They were married less than 3 years. Her financial position upon entering the marriage was stable. Now it's worse due to debts she accrued independently against your client's advice. We have full documentation. Emma's attorney glanced at her. She looked away. Fine, the solicitor said. We'll withdraw the spousal support request. However, my client seeks compensation for emotional distress. Richard shook his head. Emotional distress caused by being held accountable for one's own behavior isn't compensable. I stayed silent, watching Emma. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Suddenly she spoke, voice barely above a whisper. Can we just stop, please? Emma, her solicitor began. No, this is ridiculous. You told me we might get something. We're not getting anything. I know that, she said, looking at me. I know I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have. I pushed you away. I said nothing, waiting. Say something. What do you want me to say? That you forgive me? That we can move past this? No, I said firmly. Just no. You want me to feel better about this? I'm not going to. Tears welled in her eyes. I never meant to hurt you. You meant exactly what you said every time, I said. You just didn't think I'd take you seriously. That's not true. We can do this all day, I said, or we can sign papers, split what little marital property exists, and move on. Your choice. Richard slid a document across the table. This is our proposed settlement. Emma keeps everything in storage unit 312. Her car, personal effects. David retains the house, retirement accounts, savings, all separate property. No spousal support. Each party pays their own legal fees. Signing today, filing tomorrow, final in 30 days. Emma's solicitor whispered with her. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. My client will sign. She stood immediately and left without a glance in my direction. Her solicitor paused at the door. For what it's worth, she's sorry. I'm sure she's sorry she got caught. Less sure she's sorry for the behavior. Richard looked at me. How are you feeling? Free, I said. The quiet after they left was profound. No more tension, no more pretending. Just peace. Outside, the winter sun dipped low, casting long shadows over Cheltenham streets as a new chapter quietly began. February arrived like a soft rain, washing away the remnants of the past. I received an email from Richard one crisp morning. Divorce decree entered. You're officially single. Congratulations on handling this with dignity. I stared at those words for a moment. Relief, peace, closure, but no anger, no lingering affection. Just a closed chapter. Later that day, I messaged Sophie. Divorce finalized today. How are you feeling? Her reply came quickly. Good, really good. Like I can fully move forward now. Want to celebrate? Nothing big, just dinner. Sounds perfect, I texted back. Late February, on a bright Sunday morning, Sophie and I walked the Ladybower Trail, the air fresh and crisp. She'd brought Scout, her rescue Labrador mix, who darted ahead, chasing squirrels with wild enthusiasm. We stopped at a lookout, the view stretching over rolling hills, dappled with early spring blooms. "Can I tell you something?" Sophie asked. "Always. I really admire how you handled everything with Emma. Not just the divorce, but how you carried yourself." "What do you mean?" "You could have been cruel, vindictive, made it ugly. But you didn't. You stood your ground calmly, knowing your worth." "Most people don't," I said. "They either accept poor treatment or explode dramatically. I spent a long time accepting it, longer than I should have." She smiled softly. "But you got there. That's what matters." Scout barked, impatient to keep exploring. "You know what I learned?" I asked. "What's that?" "That threats, even empty ones, are deal breakers. If someone repeatedly threatens to leave or disregard you, believe them. They're telling you who they are." "And who was Emma?" "Someone who wanted independence without responsibility, who wanted all the benefits of partnership with none of the obligations, who used threats to avoid compromise." "And who are you?" I stopped walking, looked at her. "Someone who knows what he deserves now. Someone who won't settle for being threatened or dismissed. Someone ready to find a partner." She reached for my hand, her touch warm and steady. "Good answer." We kissed gently, the kind of kiss that promises something real, something new. Scout barked again, pulling us forward. We laughed and continued our walk, the sun warming our backs, the future feeling wide open. For the first time in months, I felt at home, in the world, in myself, and maybe, just maybe, with someone new. But as the wind whispered through the trees, I couldn't shake a lingering thought. Some stories don't end with the closing of a door. Sometimes they leave a window cracked open, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. Spring had barely settled over Cheltenham when an unexpected message blinked onto my phone late one evening. It was from an unknown number, a short text that read, "You think this is over? Think again." I stared at the screen, a chill creeping down my spine. The past months had felt like closing a door firmly, but this message was like a key rattling in the lock. Who was it? Emma? Someone else? I didn't know. But the timing was suspicious, just as I was starting to rebuild, to breathe freely again. That night, sleep was elusive. Shadows danced on the walls, and every creak in the flat sounded louder, sharper. I replayed every moment, every fight, every threat. Had I truly left it all behind, or was this just the calm before another storm? The next morning I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Inside, a single photo. Emma, standing outside the storage unit, face unreadable, clutching a set of keys. On the back, a scrawled note. "You're not done yet." I felt a mix of anger, confusion, and something darker, uncertainty. What was she planning? What had I missed? As I sat on the balcony, the sun rising over Cheltenham's rooftops, I realized that some battles don't end with papers signed or boxes packed. Sometimes they linger in shadows, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. And as much as I wanted to believe this chapter was closed, the truth was clear. The story wasn't over. Not yet. The phone buzzed again. Another text. Let's see who really has the last word. I swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the table. This was no longer just about a broken marriage. It was about who I was and who I was willing to become. Whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to back down. And that was just the beginning.